Hey guys, in this video, you're not gonna see me in front of the camera and stuff like that because I just really want to feel more personal and more private about this confession because I thought that this is beyond my usual content where I share about the insights and stuff like that to people or just necessarily give my own thoughts. But in this video and this time, you'll see me having a confession where I feel this is not talked enough. This is not discussed enough because people tend to glorify this kind of thing. And I'm also still discovering on how I would sail my life and how I would see myself in the future. So I don't know. I just feel like I just really want to record this voice note, but I just still want to share it to people because whoever listening and watching to this voice note or this video especially might benefit because they don't feel different, they don't feel lonely, they don't feel like they are weird or peculiar in this kind of thing because they have this kind of mindset or they have this kind of awakening on themselves. So, yeah. So, the confession that I really want to talk about or that I really want to share is basically that I knew that 9 to 5 is not for me. It sounds very simple, it sounds very cliche, it sounds just very shallow to some people, but also some might attribute it as how could you say that? And I do understand how and why they form this type of comment or feedback or even response to it because everything is very much conforming, everything is just something that you see from what other people do in their own daily basis and stuff like that. So they see something like this as something really weird or something really not so common in their own lives because people are just being okay with it. And even though one of my dreams are basically including this type of work or this type of routine that I envision myself to be with. But again, this type of confession really stem from my own experience of having been in the situation where it really consumes myself, so to speak. So I would just maybe I would just walk down into why I can form this type of confession or I can really form this type of awakening or whatnot. So basically, this came from my own thoughts of how could I possibly not being able to enjoy my life and I should ask for permissions from other people just to have my own holidays or just to have my own off days just because I really need it or I just really want to take a moment in my life where I just really want a space for myself and I just really want to process everything. And even though I don't have anything to process, I just don't want to have my days off because I I need to be with my own self and I need to discover even more of the sides that I have never explored before. And I really need it because maybe deep down in my own personal space, or my basically my personality, I just feel like I am a very creative person because when I was a kid, I used to go to, I used to swim by the small river in my village, even though I was also still under super, everybody was watching me at that time. So that's the first thing. The second of it, I remembered at that time that I wrote a letter because at that time I was subscribing this children magazine called Bobo. I thought at that time if I just really want to send a letter, I just flip it. I just write a letter and I just flip it into the envelope, and then I just insert it below the space of the front door of my house at that time. So I was just forming that kind of simple thing. And I felt like that was the imagination that I had, because maybe for some kids, or maybe for some of you who've been listening to this, you might never have this kind of experience, but I did. So that's the second imaginary that I had when I was a kid. The third one, I was really in tune with music. I was really in tune with foreign languages because I've got a lot of exposure when I was a kid. My mom used to binge watch a lot of like Bollywood films, Taiwanese films, or even like I I don't know, Italians or Spanish song, or even Portuguese song, like the last Ketchup Band, if I'm not mistaken. So those kind of things. And I formed the thought that I couldn't really understand every single language that I got exposed to. So I should find a way to understand and communicate with a broader people. Because at that time, I noticed that I couldn't really enjoy the whole plot of the films, but I was more focused on the subtitles. So at that time I juggled between staring at the subtitles, and then I still need to enjoy the whole plot, the whole act from the actress and also the actors at that time. So that was really confusing for me, and I just really felt it was not an enjoyable experience at that time. So that the third awakening. The fourth one is I loved something that includes my creative side, where I could really create something from scratch, or doing like the DIY or something else like that. I remember when we used to have our own home, I used to be very confused on how to wrap this shoe box because I intended to make it as my manga shelf, but I just really don't want to make it really obvious with whoever came to my room that it was a shoes box. So I decided to tear up some pages from my mangas, and then I wrapped the whole shoes box into it, and it's so creative at that time. I was like 14, 13 at that time. But yeah, that's it. And around that time, I was also assigned to the the organ class that I had. It was only like few months or few years, if I'm not mistaken. But I ended up not continuing it because of like the financial tribulations, and my tutor at that time decided to resign from his job as a music teacher because he ended up finding a more lucrative job in some sort of way. But again, I had to really respect his choice at that time, so I ended up not continuing learning organs at that time. So that's it. And there was also a few moments in my life where I felt so motivated whenever the creative projects were included. For example, when I was in my high school, I was very devoted to submit this specific art project. I forgot what was the project or what was the instructions for it, but I submitted like a very dedicated scrapbook, so to speak, where I bought several like like colorful papers, and then I just decorated with a lot of like stickers and a lot of ornaments that I could really recall at the time, and then I submitted to my art teacher at that time, and I got the validation that basically you're very creative in this case. So that's the very first project that I had the awakening on myself. And then the second project was when, so basically we were having like this class meeting, and then the project was about the creative you basically had to build a creative magazines, and then you had to send one representative from your class to introduce whatever happening with your wall magazines. So my class at that time ended up creating this pop-up wall magazines where it mimics the like the mini small opera theater, where you almost like can create a hand puppet. Yeah, a hand puppet, and you can just play with it. It's very much like we're building a stage like that. So that's it. And I was so eager at that time to present it and to introduce, to explain anything, because I don't know, I think the deeper side of me, the creative side of me, very inclined to be the representative of it, and just being in front of people, you know, explaining that. And we ended up winning that project. And it was not only that moment, but we had like two projects. So the first one when I was on my first year on high school, and then the second one was when I was on my second year on my high school. So yeah, because the last video was about like auditing your life, I knew that deep down I was a very creative person, and I just really want to make and create something really big. But I haven't discovered it yet because, I just feel like life is about discovering and unveiling a lot of potentials that you haven't discovered before. But also at the same time, I really want to revisit my old version of me that haven't been completed yet, I felt at that time. But I don't know, I felt like it hasn't been completed to some extent, but also at the same time, it can be a stepping stone for me to lead into a bigger version of myself where it may take out some parts of it, some skills, some capabilities, some core memories, some core muscles from that events, where eventually I will benefit from that experience or anything else like that. So yeah, I guess that is the ugly confession that I really need to talk to people. And I really want to make this video, this audio, this voice note, whatever you name it, as a work of art and also as a representation to whoever out there who's been very confused with their own selves because they haven't made it in their late 20s, because the society and the social media pressured us to have this robust development, this type of achievement that you have to achieve in your late 20s and the rest of your 30s, 40s, and 50s. We're we're about to enjoy your life and having like retire earlier and stuff like that. So I hope this video will really help you a lot to discover yourself more and don't feel lonely whenever you're in this stage of your life. So yeah, I think that's it. That's what I am trying to say, and that's what I'm trying to confess in this video. I hope I can discover things even better in the future. And so do you. Thank you for listening, guys.